Hey, this is your girl, Carla Renata, aka the Curvy Film Critic, baby. This is my YouTube channel. I'm so glad that you were able to come over here and join me for the 121st episode of the Curvy Critic with Carla Renata. I also want to take this time to thank all of my celebrity friends that joined me over on Black Hollywood Live: Uzo Aduba, Gina Torres, Billy Porter, Norm Lewis. The list goes on and on and on. But at Titus, um, a plethora of people. But anyway, thank y'all, because I know y'all schedules are mad crazy busy. And when I called y'all and said, "Yo, would you come on my show?" y'all graciously said yes, and I appreciate you for that. So if this is your first time joining me, please click the subscribe button below. Give me a big old thumbs up to let me know that you were here, and know that this is about me sharing film news with you, sharing interviews with you, sharing conversation with you. We are in a pandemic. This is 30 minutes out of a day that I just want to share entertainment and put a smile on your face. You may have had a bad day, you may have had a bad week, but I like to entertain. I like to make people smile. I like to make people laugh. And more than anything else, during this particular time, I like to just give you 30 minutes to escape and think about nothing else than listen to somebody else talk. And Lord knows, anybody that knows me knows I do that very well. So having said that, this is the big news drop. Black Hollywood Live is making their video content dark for the summer. They intend on coming back up in the fall. They may or may not, but until that time, you will be able to catch the Curvy Critic with Carla Renata right here on this YouTube channel, the Curvy Critic. This YouTube channel, the Curvy Critic. You will find the episodes here. I'll be streaming live sometimes I won't. I'm trying to figure out how to do the live thing because I haven't really done that on my own yet, but I will figure it out and we will go live. But in the meantime, still join me at 5 o'clock, 5:10, and join the live chat. I'll be up and on the computer at 5:10, and we can live chat about the episode while we're watching it together. So there's that. I wanted to make sure that you guys knew about that. I'm also going to start some new content. I'm going to start a weekly podcast that's going to go up on Instagram Live, and I'm going to start trying to do some more Instagram Lives. And that is going to be called What's Around the Curve. And that will be on my Instagram channel, The Curvy Critic. So if you haven't followed me over there, or you weren't aware that I had an IG channel, you do now, and it's called The Curvy Critic. Now, I've been promising y'all, so that's enough for the mic drop, the news drop. I'm done with that. So now, let's get on with the show. I've been promising y'all two particular interviews for weeks. One is with Dawn Porter, the director of Good Trouble, the documentary that centers around Representative John Lewis, and in an interview with Uzo Aduba, who y'all know from Orange is the New Black, Miss Virginia, and Mrs. America, that are all, well, Miss America, Miss Virginia is streaming everywhere, but Orange and Mrs. America are streaming on two different platforms. Orange, as you know, is on Netflix, and Mrs. America is on FX on Hulu. So there's that. But let me see. Okay, so I talked to Dawn Porter, and and at one point when I was taping this show, I'm not gonna lie, I was thinking John Lewis and knew I was talking about Dawn Porter, and I said Dawn Lewis. So it's Dawn Porter. The director, Dawn Porter. So while I was doing research on Dawn Porter, I found out that Representative John Lewis had been in numerous of her films, 3, I think, to be exact. And I was watching this documentary called Bobby Kennedy for President, which, if you haven't seen that, that is on Netflix. It's a docuseries, and it is fantabulous, by the way. But this time, I sat down and I talked to Dawn Porter about Good Trouble. And we talked about Representative Lewis. We talked about how important his story is, and his struggle and his journey in the civil rights movement is so applicable to what's going on right now and today. We talked about Maxine Shaw. If y'all don't know who Maxine Shaw is the character that Erica Alexander played on Living Single. And Erica Alexander is one of the producers of Good Trouble. Y'all know Living Single. I am living, yeah, single. Oh, in a 90s kind of world. I'm glad I got my girls. Yes, honey, that Living Single. Erica Alexander is one of the producers. So at any rate, that documentary Good Trouble is streaming on video demand right now, but I did have an opportunity to sit down and talk with Dawn, and I can't wait for y'all to see this interview. So take a look and a listen to my interview with Good Trouble documentary director, which is also streaming on Magnolia Pictures, Dawn Porter. So let's talk about a little Good Trouble. First of all, let me just say that I really enjoyed this film, because I think that myself, along with so many other people that have seen the film already since it hit on July 3rd, and even more people that are going to see it, have been enlightened to his legacy and didn't realize that he underwent as much as he did. Like everybody growing up, we know about the civil rights movement. We know what happened to people during the civil rights movement, but we never had it narrowed, single lensed in like this on anybody really until you did this documentary on John Lewis. And I know there was another one that was done on him, but this one is a little more laser focused and a little more, it's a broader scope of what his life is from the time he started his life until now. So for that, I appreciate you. And I just wanted to tell you that going into the interview.
I appreciate you for saying that. Thank you.
Black girl magic, yes. So how I know that one of your producers is Erica Alexander. Did Erica find you? Did you find her? How did that go down?
We definitely found each other. So I had started the research process to do the movie, and then Erica, I didn't even know it. She had separately started working with the congressman's team to do a film, and then she called me and said, "We are looking for a director for our John Lewis movie." And I said, I'm doing a John Lewis movie, but I loved her spirit. Of course, I knew she was Maxine Shaw. Like, who wouldn't love to be
right?
with
Like,
Maxine Shaw?
Maxine Shaw.
Exactly. And so I said, why don't we just do it together? Like too often people are like competing, and I thought 1 + 1 would equal 15 with the two of us. That we, and she brings so much. She's an artist. She's generous. She's smart. But she also had a lot of connection. She had been campaigning with the congressman, with Ayanna Pressley, with Stacey Abrams. So her contacts were just so valuable. And she, was able to get all those folks on the phone, so that we were just a really good team. And I had a great producer, Laura Michael Chisin, who used to work for Robert Redford. So between, all of us together, everybody making a movie is hard, and balancing all the things that we have to balance. And this movie was too important to be precious about my movie, your movie. So I'm just glad she came into it with that same energy. Erica is so hardworking. She blows Maxine Shaw out of the water. Maxine Shaw is lazy Parker compared to Erica Alexander, who just really gave her all. So she's, and we had a lot of fun too, a lot of fun. Speaking of Black Girl Magic, there was, we were on Capitol Hill filming, and I don't know what you know about the Capitol Hill Police, but they're not.
I went to Howard University, so
there you go. Okay. So we're in Capitol Hill and walking, and I think I had a camera or something, and the Capitol Hill Police kind of roll up behind us, and I was like, oh no, here we go. And then it was a Black officer, and he said, "Can you take my picture with Maxine?"
That's hilarious. Y'all thought it was about to be an incident, and all he
exactly and then same trying to get into the House of Representatives. The guards are all Black. Chocolate City is still real in a lot of government jobs. And everybody just wanted to take a picture without Erica. I was like, I should bring you every time I try to film in Congress. I get to bring you, Erica.
I know.
So I did a lot of selfies for people who wanted to be filming with Erica.
Hilarious. I know Erica socially, and her and I were on the Emily's List creative committee for a minute. So I know her socially, and I got to know her a little bit better through being involved with Emily's List. But for you personally, I want to know, when was the first moment that you became aware of John Lewis?
I think like most people, I learned about him in school, in college. But I did a film called Gideon's Army about 3 young Black public defenders, and he agreed to speak to them. And they were just beyond excited. And he told a story which I hadn't really thought of and I hadn't heard, that it was the lawyers who got him out of jail and really kept him alive when he was protesting in the civil rights movement. And so he always will, help people who are lawyers who are working for justice. And I saw how much it meant to those young lawyers who were very unseen and unappreciated. So he's actually, the congressman's actually appeared in now 3 of my movies, only one of which is about him. And then I did a film about Bobby Kennedy, and I didn't know that John Lewis had volunteered for Bobby Kennedy's presidential campaign and had organized the speech in Indianapolis on the day that Dr. King was murdered.
It's so funny because I was just watching a film called, I think, Bobby Kennedy for President, or Bobby
That's
Kennedy.
mine.
Yes! Oh, okay. I was watching that yesterday. Oh, I can have a whole nother conversation with you. I have to have a whole nother conversation with you about that, because I was watching that, and this is what I'm going to say real quickly about that, because I don't want to run out of time. When I watched that, I was like, okay, the Kennedy family has been so romanticized in American history folklore that some of the stuff that was in that film, it literally made me pick up the phone and call my dad. Because my dad was one of the Marines that fought during the Bay of Pigs. And so when the Bay of Pigs is mentioned in the film, I was like, Bay of Pigs, why does that sound familiar to me? I'm like, I think my dad talked to me about that. I literally paused the film and went and had like an hour conversation with my father.
Oh, see, that makes me so happy.
I did. I had a whole conversation with my father. I was like, Daddy, you got to see this film. It's about this. It's on Netflix, da-da-da-da-da. And I was telling him this whole thing about this movie. It was hilarious. But girl, I have to talk to you another time just about that movie, because that was bananas.
I'm happy to do it. But when I pitched to Netflix, I was like, this is going to be the blackest Bobby Kennedy you ever see, because it was Black people who really pushed him into his civil rights advocacy. Marion Wright Edelman, John Lewis, so many people, Dr. King pushed him into the person that he became.
Yeah.
And I thought, like, that's why you need to study history. And that's why you need.
And I'm going to tell you, history was like my worst subject in school. I hated history. I was so bored. And now I'm like all about it. I'm like, ooh, what else can I find out? I'm like this. And I think I'm like that because of the movement that we're going through right now. Yeah. And I think that your film is a perfect guidebook, so to speak, in cinema, of how we went from the civil rights movement to how we got to where we are exactly right now today in history with Black Lives Matter. Because in a lot of respects, the Black Lives Matter movement isn't any different than the civil rights movement. The only difference is that it is multiple races marching and protesting and reaching out and speaking out, whereas in the 60s, it was mostly us. And the other biggest difference is that we have digital stuff now. We have the internet, we have social media, we have all these different things that can get the message out there quicker, faster, and reach the masses in a huge, huge, huge number of ways. So that was really cool. But I wanted to know from your point of view, how do you think the film is going to resonate for that reason? Because we do have Black Lives Matter, and this is somebody who was at the forefront of the civil rights movement and almost lost his life, was repeatedly jailed, beaten, endured all this stuff so that we can enjoy some of the liberties that we enjoy today as Black people in America. And now here we are again, because history is yet again repeating itself. So what impact do you think Good Trouble is going to make in that respect?
I think a number of things. One is Mr. Lewis says we can't rest. We can't assume that we don't have to be protective. We don't have to protect these rights. But he will also point out, there was an interracial movement, but it was also very much led by Black people, which is wonderful. But there is now, we are seeing, unlike where there were protests just in the South or just in certain places, we have now seen protests in all 50 states in America and around the world. So everything that Mr. Lewis and his compatriots were arguing for is resonating with many, many more people. And you're right, social media is such a powerful tool. So I would love to see, what a John Lewis and those activists, those young people, because they used media so successfully. When you look at how they trained and how they were calm, their appearance, they dressed nicely, they knew what message they were sending. We are people. We are proud people. We are peaceful, and people who attack us, they are the savages. I love what Bernard Lafayette says in this movie, one of Mr. Lewis's friends. He keeps saying, we kept giving them the opportunity to change. And I feel like that a lot when I see these, Karen this and Karen that. It's like, you have the opportunity to change. You know what's right. And we're going to keep calling you out until you change. Like, we're not going anywhere. We live here too. That flag is my flag and your flag. It is not a flag of hate. So, I think that people need to reclaim that flag and point out what it really stands for. I want to wave it proudly again.
So do I. I think that is a perfect note for us to end on. I'm so happy that we finally had this opportunity to chat. I'm serious about talking to you about that Bobby Kennedy thing, because that blew my mind. I was like, what is happening right now? And I'm a big supporter of yours. I will continue to be. And thank you, Dawn, from the bottom of my heart. I really
thank you for your work. We need more of us as critics and as voices and pointing people, because that's how people find our work. So thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Thank you, Dawn, for giving me so much of your time. I'm glad we could finally work that out, girl, because we was having some scheduling issues. And I'm serious. I'm going to bring you back to talk about that Bobby Kennedy documentary, because that was thebomb.com. So y'all, please, again, check out the Good Trouble documentary, which is produced by Magnolia Pictures. It is streaming everywhere, video on demand. Now, let me talk to y'all about this other, I love my documentaries here at the Curvy Critic. I saw another documentary called Mucho, Amor. I can't roll my R's. I'm the worst at trying to roll an R. But Mucho, Amor is a documentary that is streaming on Netflix right now, and it is centered around this subject named Walter Mercado. Walter is, the best way to describe Walter is that Walter is like if Liberace had a show that was centered around astrology, that's what Walter Mercado was. He was fabulous, just the most fabulous human being I've ever seen, and positive. You never heard a negative word come out of his mouth. He never had negative energy. And he became this huge prominent figure in the Latina community. Anybody that was Latina growing up, if you didn't grow up knowing who Walter Mercado was, there was something wrong going on if you didn't know who he was. One of the people that majorly knew who he was Lin-Manuel Miranda. So it was so heartwarming to see him have that moment as a fan, meet Walter Mercado, try on one of his capes, because, honey, he has some fabulous capes, like those Liberace capes. Some of them weighed 15 to 20 pounds, and some of them weighed like 60 pounds. They were beaded, gorgeous, beautiful capes. But the documentary is directed by Christina Constantini and Karim Tabesh. Hope I pronounced y'all's names right. I'm always butchering a name. Please forgive me. But they are the ones that directed it. And, this is the thing. So remember back in the day, they had that Psychic Friends Network. You would see Dionne Warwick up there, Miss Cleo. I know everybody remember Miss Cleo. So one of the people that was part of that Psychic Friends Network was Walter Mercado. And that's in addition to him being on, in between the telenovelas at on the Latina community's TV, soap operas and stuff. He was on this Psychic Friends Network, which took his personal wealth up like this. But this is the thing. At some point, and you hear every artist tell this story, anybody that is an artist, you always see a documentary where they're talking about at some point how their money was lost, how somebody stole money from them, how they became broke, or whatever the situation may be, because they didn't take care of their business and they didn't learn the business end of it. And this is not any different when it comes to Walter Mercado. Walter Mercado became friends with this dude named Bill Bakula, who was a lawyer, and Bill Bakula swindled him into signing not only his TV show, his radio show, every entity of media that he had, He signed it away to Bill Bakula, including his name, and it took him years to get it back. Sounds familiar? Same thing happened to Prince with Warner Brothers Music. Just saying. Artists really need to be cognizant. If you have a name and you have a brand, and this goes for the people out there podcasting too, you have a name and a brand, you have to handle your business, get your stuff trademarked, copyrighted, whatever you need to do to protect the stuff that you work so hard for. What difference does it make that you're working hard if you don't have a way to protect your life's work? So there's that. It's a very entertaining documentary. Unfortunately, Walter Mercado is not here to receive all these accolades, but he did receive his accolades in Miami when they did a big blowout 50-year celebration of his life and his career, a couple of days before he passed away in 2019. And if all of that wasn't great enough, a dear friend of mine and fellow journalist, Carlos Aguilar, has a huge story in the LA Times that is centered around Mucho, Amor, and Walter Mercado. So again, you can find that on Netflix right now. Now, there's another documentary that I liked. It's called The Truth. Well, actually, no, it's not a documentary. Scratch! Record scratch. Let's take that back. There's another film that I saw called The Truth. It's produced by IFC Films, and it's directed and written by Hirokazu Korida, and it stars Catherine Deneuve. I told y'all I'd be trying, but Juliette Binoche and Ethan Hawke, and it's about this. So Catherine Deneuve plays this famous actress, Fabienne, who is trying to resurrect her career through this autobiography book that she's written. And her latest role is in this sci-fi picture as a mother that never grows old. And then there's this conflict of her and her daughter, who is a script writer and who's actually, I believe, written the script. So they show this big, huge mother-daughter dynamic between like a big movie star and her kid, which we see those dynamics played out in tabloid media all the time. But to see it put into a film is a very different thing. Now, I love Ethan Hawke, but he's barely in this movie. But the amount of time that he's in it is kind of fantabulous. But this film, The Truth, is seriously all about Catherine Deneuve. She is a full-fledged old glamour puss queen that is giving you everything in her career that she ever was known for, period, as a really talented actress, is on full display and spotlighted in this film. It's worth it to see it, if nothing else, for her performance, because she is shady boots, but it is deliciously shady. So again, The Truth is streaming everywhere, y'all. Everywhere, and it's produced by IFC Films and directed by Hirokazu Korida. Another film that's out that is on Netflix, also not a documentary, is The Old Guard, and it stars Charlize Theron and Kiki Lane and Chiwetel Ejiofor, and it is directed by Gina Prince Blythewood. Let me tell y'all something. Now I know Gina Prince Blythe. If Black women and women filmmakers are given the chance, they can show you that they can direct anything in any genre. And Gina Prince Blythewood's situation is no different. She literally can direct any genre. And there is, oh my God, this is a fabulous film that's based on a comic book series by Greg Rucka, and who also incidentally wrote the screenplay for this one. And it deals with a covert team of immortal mercenaries who are suddenly exposed, and they're trying to keep their identity secret just as an unexpected new member is discovered. And that new member would be the fabulous Kiki Lane. You guys would remember her from If Beale Street Could Talk and the fabulous performance that she gave in that film. But y'all, if you are an action junkie like I am, and a real action junkie, especially when it comes to girls kicking butt all over the place, you're going to love The Old Guard. And listen, and not for nothing, but Kiki Lane and Charlize Theron are just badass. I love watching Charlize Theron kick butt. I remember seeing her in that movie Atomic Blonde last year. I love me some Charlize Theron. You go, girl. It's on Netflix right now. The Old Guard, y'all, directed by Gina Prince Blythewood. Now, if you have ever watched Orange is the New Black and you've seen the character Crazy Eyes, then you know who my next guest is. Uzo Aduba has won 2 Primetime Emmy Awards for her portrayal of Crazy Eyes, and she's won 2 SAG Awards for that same role. Recently, she took on the role of Shirley Chisholm, who, if you don't know, was the first Black woman to run for president in the United States of America, in a docuseries that is on FX on Hulu called Mrs. America. She's also in a film called Miss Virginia, where she plays a real life person there as well. But you know, much like pinning down my boy Benny, much like pinning down my boy Billy Porter, grabbing Uzo was not without its challenges. But we finally sat down and we had a really great discussion on Orange is the New Black, the Black Lives Matter movement, and we reminisced about how we ultimately met before she was showered with all these awards and accolades. So take a listen and a look, possibly, to my interview with the award-winning actress and my friend, Uzo Aduba. Well, Miss Uzo Aduba, I'm finally glad we were able to make this happen. I'm so happy to talk to you.
Hey! Yes, me too.
So let's just give the people a little snippet of how we actually met. Because I say, I know her, and people be like giving me side eye, like, yeah, girl, sure you do. So I'm just going to and correct
from
me.
Before, let's be clear.
Before. So correct me if I'm wrong in saying any of this. We were at an audition for Sister Act.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's correct.
We were at an audition for Sister Act, the musical, before it went to Broadway. They were getting ready to take it to London, I believe.
Yeah.
And I was sitting out there with my little iPod. Remember when we had iPods? Sitting out there with my little
learning
iPod.
the music.
Sitting out there with my little iPod, listening to the music, going over my lyrics like I didn't know them, because I had done the workshop out here in Pasadena at the Pasadena Playhouse. So I'm sitting there, and you came flying in there like a tornado, and you were like, "Are they behind? Are they?" And you so verklempt, and then you shared. You like, I just got this music. I haven't even listened to it. Like, I don't know it. I haven't listened to it. I was like, here, girl, you can listen to it.
Yes.
You like, you just gonna give me your app? You just gonna let me? I said, look, it ain't like I don't know where to find you. If I come out here and you gone, I will find you.
I'm not foolish, but I'm just saying. Yeah.
But I never forgot that. And then the next time I saw you, I think I was walking down 8th Avenue in between shows or something. And there you were with a friend of yours. You're like, that's the girl.
Yeah, who helped me? Yeah.
You remember?
Who helped me in my audition? You know what? And I remember that also, because I remember I had just been at my sister had just had a baby. I had just come from visiting her in Virginia, like the day on the plane, trying to learn this music. Had no idea. And here's why I remember it, because the thing about, and you know this, probably have had this experience as well, when you go into auditions, sometimes you have some women who are supports and strength. And sometimes you have women who maybe they're going through something that shady, but I'll try and give you the benefit of the doubt. Maybe you're having a hard day.
I'm gonna say it. Like,
shady. And I remember it because I did not know you. We did not know each other. But I was like, how amazing this woman. And these are the moments that you just like have to stand and remember, be like, this is how I want to move. This is how I want to be around, who I want to be around. How amazing this woman. We're reading for the same part. She obviously is auditioning today and has not yet gone in. Do you know what I'm saying? So you have work to do yourself. You know, it's not like you're coming out, you've had your audition and you're letting me listen to it. You have work to do yourself, and is still extending herself to me. And I just remember being so appreciative and so grateful for it. And I was like, Carla Renata. That's just how generous heart.
That's just how I kind of roll through life. You know, I don't believe in, this is what I believe in terms of the auditioning process. If something's meant for you, it's meant for you. Me not letting you listen to that music that day wasn't going to put me any step closer to me getting that part. You know what I mean?
That's right.
And I knew that I knew it. And I knew that if I didn't know it by then, wasn't nothing going to help me in the miraculously 5 minutes that I had to go in the room.
And yet I thought.
But it was hilarious. But what I'm so proud of and most happy of is that it speaks to your character too, because some moments happen like that with people. And when you run into them later in life, or 2 weeks later, or a week later, they act like they don't remember that happened. And you're like, okay. And you know what I mean? But you remembered, and you remembered, and you decided that I was a kind person as a result of it. For that, I thank you, and I appreciate you communicating that to me today. So thank you for that.
Oh my gosh, absolutely, absolutely.
And I've watched your career grow and blossom. I've watched you grow and blossom as an actress. I remember when you got hair. I remember that.
God, oh my gosh.
I remember when you got hair. I mean, I remember so many things, but I got a memory like an elephant. I don't forget nothing. I really do. It's like a blessing and a curse. But I want to talk to you about a couple of things. So, first of all, we're going through this metamorphosis moment in the entertainment industry. Black people are speaking up. They speaking out. Folk are talking about how anywhere from how people have been treated as a person of color on a set by hair and makeup, to playwrights talking about pitching their projects and being told that there's no audience for a play written by a person of color. What are your thoughts about all of this that's going on right now? Because I know how I feel about it, but I'm just interested to know what you think about it.
I think it's wonderful. I think it's wonderful. You know, I think it's wonderful, absolutely wonderful, in terms of the bravery, volume, and insistence that is happening right now in the industry, as far as Black people, people of color, speaking up for themselves, but specifically Black people in this moment. I think it is incredibly important. I think it is necessary. I think this is how real change happens. And I think it happens because you can't unknow something. And that's not to say that we haven't said things before in the past, but I think when you have an entire community galvanized and prepared to speak openly, graphically, honestly about the injustices that have been faced regularly, the inequities, the obstacles, all of those things, you can't unknow it. And I think also what is so powerful about this time, what makes it really exciting, is understanding, having an understanding of what collective power really means.
Absolutely.
In other words, we have ourselves who are out here speaking up, but also knowing we have the voting power of these really amazing young people who are out every single day, marching, protesting, and their voting dollars are very strong right now, right? And so I think this is a moment of change. This is a moment of a sea change. And I think it will happen, hopefully willingly, by the powers that be, but I think it will happen even if they have to come kicking and screaming, because the people who are going to see these movies, who are going to see these plays, who are watching these TV shows, who are buying the magazines, these young people especially have told the world how they want the world to show itself. And so they have really, and I'm excited to see like teenagers, you know what I mean? Like early 20-somethings who are really insistent in showing up in that way. I think they will. And I think that's what will inevitably breed change. And so I'm really glad that the people who are in our side of the industry are speaking up, standing up for ourselves. You know, I had posted on Instagram, maybe even over a year or two ago, this quote that I had seen scribbled on spray painted on the side of a building. And it said, "Speak the truth, even if your voice shakes."
Ooh.
And I loved it.
I love that.
Isn't that great?
I'm gonna have to steal that. That's fabulous.
Yeah, and you can find the picture. I'll send it to you, but it's like it's beautiful because it's like that is this moment. You know what I mean? It's scary to say a true thing that maybe not everybody wants to hear or feels ready to hear. It's scary, but you have to say it anyway. You have to speak up, even if that means you're in that room. When you're the only person in that room, whether it's speaking to your representation, whether it's speaking to your director, whether it's speaking to the writers, and say what is, because I'm a believer in that. You can't tell me later that I didn't say anything. No one will ever be able to tell me later on anything that I didn't say something. I said something. Whether you listened or not is another thing. I said something.
Look, we've all been in the room where it happens. You know what I'm saying? We have all been there. Boom.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love that quote. That's a fabulous quote. Speaking of which, you've been fortunate because you've worked with some people who have very broad ideology of what people on camera should look like. The first one being Genji Cohen, because Genji Cohen creates these shows that are they are rooted in the world that we navigate in, not some world that doesn't exist, not some world where we don't see people milling about and communicating with each other. And Orange was groundbreaking for that reason. You had people that were from all different nationalities, but you also had all these women who weren't a size 2.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Everybody looked like what normal people look like. And I know that you probably have answered this a zillion times during the course of the time that the show was on the air. But for me, if you wouldn't mind, just speak to that for a second. Being on a show that it was different. Not only was it groundbreaking, but it was different. And it was different in a good way.
Absolutely. I think what was so exciting about it was it's taking not only were we telling new stories, but we were seeing new storytellers tell new stories. And that was what our superpower was, I think. Our capes was our ability to exist just as we are in the world. And, I thought it was incredible. You take my friend and castmate, Dasha Polanco, for example. Beautiful girl. The best. She's the best. Beautiful.
I did a commercial with her girl. I had to speak Spanish, and she had to help me.
And she will, because she is fluent native speaker. Yes, she's the best. Hilarious, good time. But look at that amazing opportunity. She was the romantic lead in our show. A woman we don't always get to see be that the desired one, not just and not in a fetishized way, really desired by in the storytelling, and we should be seeing her in that space all the time. She should be existing in that space all of the time. And so that was really exciting to see all of these different characters, myself, to Danielle Brooks, who played Tasty, Adrienne Moore playing Black Cindy, Samira Wiley as Poussey, the range, Selene Sleva, all of these different women coexisting on a single show. And I think what was exciting to know is that it was, at the time, this great experiment, but then when the show came out, you really realized what the world had been thirsty for. That this
representation. That's what we thirsty for. I saw a might have been an Instagram post last night of a little Asian girl was watching Hamilton with her mommy on a laptop. Okay. And when Philippa Sue showed up on the screen, the little girl was, whenever Philippa would show up on the screen, when she was singing Helpless, right? The little girl was pointing, and she said, "What are you pointing at?" And she says, me. And the mommy said, "That's you." She said, me.
Yeah.
And that just goes to speak to what you said. Representation is so important, that you see people that look like you. Because when you see someone that looks like you, it makes you believe that it's possible.
That's right. Absolutely. It expands the imagination for everybody. The possibility of what exists out there for you. That little girl you're talking about, whether she takes this path or not in her life as she grows up, she now has the imagination to see herself as the lead, central to the story.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? And not
exactly
supporting the story, not to the left of somebody else's story, not advancing another person's story, but the center of the story, as she should.
As she should. I had seen Miss Virginia a little while ago, but then I rewatched it because I knew I was going to talk to you, and I felt like it. They need to re-air it, like it needs to be restreamed or whatever, because it's so important to what's happening right now. Right now, even though that was a story that was set in a very specific time, we're still dealing with the gross injustice of education, especially in the Washington D.C. area, which is embarrassing because that's the nation's capital.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But this woman, Virginia Walden, I loved how she was like, this is not going to happen to me. This is not going to happen to my kid. And I love that her journey took her from working in the building, cleaning toilets for that representative, to then having to confront that same representative about that gross injustice. And I just wanted to know from you, how important was it for you to play that type of character? Because not only was this a character you were playing, but this is a real life person. This actually happened to somebody.
Yes, absolutely. I think it was, first of all, it was remarkable to know that this woman, this mother, was that courageous, that intent to see her child's life go further than her own. And I mean, that just speaks to the power of a mother, the power of support, when you really want to make a change and a dream come true. And she changed with that passage of that bill so many lives in the city of Washington at that time. It was powerful. It was my first time playing a real person. I'd never played a real person before. So that was great. Thank you. It was a lot to sit and listen to her story, get to know her, understand her passion. She was this really, she had a quiet voice, but you knew she was somebody you didn't want to mess with. She had
the ones with that quiet voice, they'll cut you.
Yeah. You knew she was powerful. You knew she was strong, and she had strong mind, and was finding her voice along the way. And it was amazing. I thought that was an amazing piece. I got to work with another old friend of mine, Amira Vaughn, on that project, who I also knew from theater days in New York, who went on to go and be part of How to Get Away with Murder. And
she was fabulous.
She's fabulous. She's so wonderful.
It was and Ingenue Ellis is in there.
Ingenue, who I also know. Yes, exactly.
Yes, Ingenue. I know her from back in the day too, girl. Me and her used to be on commercial call.
Yes, who's also now, she's amazing. She just was fabulous in the Clark Sisters.
And when they see us,
And then When They See Us, also last season. She's, it was wonderful. It was wonderful being with these immense talents, these wonderful spirits, and to tell a story. To tell a story of hope and progress, I think, was great.
Yeah. So just to close it out, girl, so that we can end on a high note.
Yeah.
Since we've been so serious and whatnot, what are you streaming right now? Are you streaming anything? Are you catching up on some shows? Are you just chilling? You watching some movies? What you doing?
I just finished watching Never Have I Ever on Netflix. Have you watched it? Mindy Kaling's new show. Everybody should watch it. It's really great. Really, really great. Loved it. Absolutely loved it. What else obviously, I mean, this is old school, but I watched Tiger King, I feel like the first night, like it came out. I was like, this is amazing. Everybody needs to watch it. This is insane. What else did I watch? What have I watched? I watched, I've been watching, like I just watched yesterday, Something New, the movie that's old. I've been watching older movies Soul Food I just watched the other day. Older stuff, but Never Have I Ever. That was a show I just recently finished watching. It was great. It was really, really cute.
Cool. Well, I'm not gonna take no more of your time, sis, this morning. It is morning, right? Yeah.
Yes, it is. It's morning over here.
Ooh,
It's morning for you.
girl, it's the butt crack for me, but it's all good. It was worth it to get up and talk to you because I love you. I love you to death. I love your work. I love your ethic. I love you as a person that's navigating on this earth. You're so special. You're so special and so wonderful and consistent, you know. And I appreciate that. I really do.
Thank you very much. Thank you. You are amazing. That voice singing down, that talent. And I really do appreciate you having me on. I think this is amazing what you're doing. Please continue to lift all the voices, lift us up, keeping space, holding space for us. It's appreciated. It really is.
Oh, girl, of course. I got us. If nobody else got us, I do.
I know you do. I know you do.
Well, I'm going to let you go, sis, and go do your thing. But thank you.
Thank you very much. God bless, Carla.
Bless you too, Uzo. Bye.
Take care.
Okay, Uzo. Thank you so much, girl, for taking time out of your ridiculously busy schedule to chat with a sister. Ooh, I love you for it. And we had that fabulous trip down memory lane. Love it, love it, love it. Okay, well, that does it for this episode of the Curvy Critic, kids. And that trip down memory lane with Uzo Aduba and another trip down memory lane with my girl, Dawn Porter. Please check out their films. Mrs. America on FX with Hulu, Miss Virginia, which is streaming everywhere right now. You can also stream Orange is the New Black. Every season is up on Netflix. We in quarantine. If you've never seen it or you missed a couple of seasons, go check that out. And check out Good Trouble, which is also streaming video on demand. Now, next week, I will have an interview with the producing team of Kerry Washington's Sundance documentary, The Fight, which chronicles 4 separate cases being fought in the courts by the ACLU, the American Civil Liberties Union, and it's directed by Elise Stenberg. Stenberg, I'll find out. But it's directed by her, and her producing partners and co-directors are the exact same team who produced that documentary about Anthony Weiner a couple of years ago, which won all kinds of awards. So I want to talk about that. I'll talk about the truth, not the truth. I keep getting the truth and the fight mixed up. I'll be talking about the fight next week when I talk about Elise and everything that's going on with her. And so thank you for joining me on this new journey over on my own channel with the Curvy Critic and me, who are basically one and the same. Again, click the subscribe button if this is your first time here. Give me a big thumbs up to let me know that you paid me a visit, and I will catch y'all on the flip side. Deuces. To keep up with the Curvy Critic, like our page here, click that subscribe button, and click that bell for notifications. Love, peace, and hair grease, y'all.